undefeated, untouchable, and unforgettable. Asuka's 523-day reign as the NXT Women's Champion is one of the most dominant in WWE history. But was it truly great or did it last too long? Let's break it down. If you're new to this channel, I'm TJ, and today we're breaking down Asuka's NXT Women's title run in a new series called Reign Check, where we're ranking title runs of various WWE superstars. Now, in order for us to truly break down Asuka's run as NXT Women's Champion, we gotta understand her character. Asuka signed to NXT back in August of 2015, appearing at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, which was a defining event for NXT. Her first match in NXT was against Dana Brooke at NXT TakeOver Respect on October 7, 2015. And her debut at NXT was very significant because she was the first female Japanese wrestler signed to WWE since Bull Nakano in 1994. And she was pivotal for the new era of women's wrestling in WWE. That first match against Dana Brooke showed us that Asuka was built different. Now, if you knew Asuka prior to WWE, you knew exactly the kind of wrestler that she was, because I had never really heard of Asuka prior to her NXT debut. So she dominated the match with lethal strikes and submissions, making her a no-nonsense competitor. Now, when I watched this match for the first time, I was blown away by Asuka. This woman is the true definition of aura. Asuka came from Japan, which is known for that strong style of wrestling, a more hard-hitting, realistic form of wrestling. And Asuka won her matches before she even hit the ring. She would come out wearing a mask, bright colors, and relied on body language to intimidate her opponents. And one of the favorite things that I love about Asuka is how she would walk to the ring. It seemed like with every single win, Asuka's walk got even cockier. She walked like she owned the place, which she did, especially during her run as NXT Women's Champion. Asuka's reign began at NXT TakeOver Dallas on April 1st, 2016, where she defeated Bayley by technical submission. Her reign lasted until September 6, 2017, where Asuka vacated the title due to an injury she suffered against Ember Moon at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3, totaling 523 days. During her reign as champion, Asuka was never defeated, and she had gone on a massive winning streak. As champion, she was very active. She took on all challengers and rarely looked vulnerable. That didn't happen until she faced Ember Moon, who we'll talk about in a bit. Let's break down the challengers, starting with the woman who Asuka defeated to become champion, Bayley. Bayley was the heart and soul of NXT, the smiling hugger that fans admired. After her fellow horsewomen Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch were called up to the main roster, Bayley was the last one standing in NXT. Her mission was to carve out a path for herself and also elevate the NXT Women's division. Bayley established herself as a key piece of NXT during her run as NXT Women's Champion by defeating challengers such as Sasha Banks, Alexa Bliss, Eva Marie, Nia Jax, and Carmella. On March 16, 2016, NXT General Manager William Regal announced that Bayley would defend her title against Asuka at NXT TakeOver Dallas. Asuka would defeat Bayley, ending her reign at 223 days. Bayley was supposed to have a rematch against Asuka at NXT TakeOver at the end, but was replaced by Nia Jax due to a storyline injury that Bayley suffered. Bayley would return to competition a few months later and challenge Asuka in a rematch for the NXT Women's title at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2. Asuka defeated Bayley for the second time, and Bayley would move on to the main roster. Asuka's win over Bayley signified passing of the torch. Asuka would lead a new era of the NXT Women's division. And going back to Nia Jax, Nia is a dominant powerhouse who uses her size to her advantage. She comes from the Anoa'i family, a legendary wrestling dynasty. Nia had been stacking wins ever since she debuted in NXT back in 2015. Her first major loss came against Bayley at NXT TakeOver London, but she wouldn't let that loss stop her. She continued her quest for championship gold by challenging Asuka for NXT Women's title at NXT TakeOver The End, where Nia was unsuccessful. Asuka being the smaller competitor in the match, which was very rare. had to adapt to Nia's overwhelming power, using her striking ability and technique to win the match. During Asuka's reign as champion, Asuka felt like she was on top of the world. She coined the phrase,
"Nobody is ready for Asuka!"
Nobody could beat her. Asuka would, however, get a surprise challenge from the legendary Mickie James at NXT TakeOver Toronto. Now, Mickie James is seen by many as one of the all-time greats and a trailblazer for women's wrestling. And I really don't get why she isn't in the Hall of Fame, but that's another story for another day. She is a 6-time WWE Women's Champion and was coming off a great TNA run, where she won the Knockouts World title 3 times. Asuka defeated Mickie and showed signs of a heel turn afterwards by refusing to shake Mickie's hand. This win further legitimized Asuka as NXT Women's Champion. And the NXT Women's division started to shake up during Asuka's run. As more women shifted to the main roster, women from the independent scene came to NXT. In January of 2017, Asuka would be targeted by 2 women by the names of Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, and they were known as the Iconic Duo. Peyton and Billie had been teaming together since around 2015. However, they didn't have much success as a team. Towards the end of 2016, they started to stack up W's, and they were voted 2016's Breakout of the Year at the NXT Year-End Awards. And they were known for their arrogance and being downright hilarious. And after being attacked by the Iconic Duo, Asuka would be rescued by Nikki Cross. But then Nikki Cross attacked Asuka, and Asuka demanded that she defended her title against all 3 of them, which led to a fatal 4-way match at NXT TakeOver San Antonio. And Asuka continued her run as champion. And after Asuka's victory at NXT TakeOver San Antonio, she became the longest reigning singles champion in NXT history, male or female. Nikki Cross was one of Asuka's most interesting challengers. She brought a level of chaos that the NXT Women's Division was not ready for. She arrived on the scene in late 2016 as a part of Sanity, a group of unhinged psychopaths. In a battle royal to determine Asuka's challenger at TakeOver Chicago, Asuka attacked Ember Moon, who would be injured as a result, Ruby Riott, and Nikki Cross, who were the final 3 competitors in the match. And this move officially cemented Asuka as a heel. Asuka was forced to defend her title at TakeOver Chicago against Riott and Cross, where Asuka once again reigned supreme. And Nikki Cross got another shot at the title and a first ever last woman standing match against Asuka on NXT TV. I remember that match so well, and it's definitely an underrated match. I highly recommend you go and check it out because they beat the brakes off each other. And during this time, Asuka continued to break records. She surpassed Goldberg's undefeated streak and Rockin' Robin's 502 day as WWF Women's Champion. And all of that leads us to Ember Moon, Asuka's biggest threat to the title. Ember Moon had made a big name for herself on the independent scene and was making waves in NXT. She unsuccessfully challenged Asuka for the title at NXT TakeOver Orlando back in April of 2017. During the match, Asuka shoved the referee into Ember to avoid being hit with the Eclipse, Ember's finishing move, and won the match as a result. This was the first time that Asuka showed signs of desperation and felt threatened by her opponent. She injured Ember Moon as previously mentioned, and Ember eventually returned to challenge Asuka in a rematch at TakeOver Brooklyn 3. And when I was watching this match at the time, I thought for sure that Ember was gonna get the win, but Asuka retained yet again. Now, Asuka, however, didn't walk away from this match unscathed. She unfortunately suffered a right collarbone injury, which forced her to be out of action from 6 to 8 weeks, and she was forced to vacate her NXT Women's title. Asuka would end her run as NXT Women's Champion undefeated, and she carried her winning streak all the way to the main roster. Asuka was the standard for NXT during her reign as NXT Women's Champion. Now, I would argue that the NXT Women's Championship was the most prestigious belt in NXT at the time. And as much as we talk about the 4 horsewomen being trailblazers for women's wrestling, the same can be said about Asuka. When the NXT women's division was going through a transition phase from the horsewomen to Asuka, Ember, Nikki, etc., Asuka was the standard. She carried the mantle. And for me, Asuka's NXT reign is the perfect example of how to make someone feel like a star. Long reigns aren't always great, but Asuka had credible challengers and great matches to solidify her reign. And the X factor for Asuka was her aura, the presentation, and the dominance. Things that don't show up on stats. She was presented as the best of the best. I would say that this is the best that Asuka has ever been presented throughout her WWE career so far. And once she got to the main roster, her aura started to fade, and she took more L's. And as we know, the streak had come to an end, but I strongly believe that Asuka should have defeated Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania 34. She was the first Women's Royal Rumble winner, and it would have been a great look for Asuka if it led to a championship win at WrestleMania. Asuka's reign wasn't just about wins and losses. It was about presence, dominance, and setting a standard that hasn't been matched yet. For me, that's what makes it legendary. But that's my reign check. Where do you rank Asuka's NXT title reign? Drop your rating in the comments. And next time we're breaking down Gunther's Intercontinental Championship reign, the run that brought prestige back to the Intercontinental title. Now, if you like this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Also, if no one else told you, you matter, and you were put on this earth to be great.